Mr. Dooley, what is the analysis? Gentlemen, we're back for our third and final episode of looking at the analysis in the book of Judges. Our objective, level 5. I want you to criticize and defend the teaching of the stories of Judges to children. So, you guys are adolescents. You're all 13 or 14 years old. You're not quite children, and you're not quite fully adults yet. So I think you're in a perfect place for this objective. First question. You're going to define, criticize, and defend. These are simple explanations, and I'm going to teach you to them in this video, and we'll go over them in class. Second, you're going to be able to tell the story of the Levite, the concubine, and the Benjaminites. This is a single story found right at the end of the book of Judges. And third, you're going to criticize or defend, or both, the teaching of the story of Judges to children. This is where the whole book is fair game. So you can use Samson, you can use your other homeworks as examples in order to draw out some analyses. In this video, I'm not going to give you too many specific analyses. Rather, I'm going to paint the picture of what it means to analyze this question, what it means to come up with criticisms, what it means to come up with defenses. Let's dive right in. So, to criticize means to express disapproval. Typically involves analyzing and evaluating something's merits or faults. So you could criticize a player on your fantasy team for making an error or dropping a pass or etc. You could also look at him critically and say, well, he has this many yards per game, which is not highlighting his faults, but rather appraising his merits. To defend is to protect or support against criticism or attack or opposition. We'll think back to, we've used this word before. Defend is a level 5 objective word, where we're looking at a teaching or we're looking at a worldview and there are certain attacks on it and we want to put up a strong defense. Now, why am I having you criticize and defend teaching the book of Judges to children? Why did I make up this objective? Why don't we just read the chapters and summarize or tell or analyze or articulate the meaning of something? Why bring it up to a level 5? Well, here are my reasons. I'll put them out on the table. There are many people in our culture who don't know that the Bible is complex and problematic. There are a lot of simplistic views of the Bible out there. People saying, oh, if only we just read the Bible more, we would be more loving and peaceful. And that's true, certainly. But oftentimes these people aren't thinking of the book of Judges when they're recommending reading the Bible. They're thinking of other books. They're reading the Psalms, they're thinking about Acts of the Apostles, they're thinking about the Gospels, they're thinking about the stories in Genesis. They're not thinking of the complex and very violent stories of Joshua or Judges. And there are also many in our culture who don't like that the Bible is complex and problematic. Maybe they do know that some of the Bible's views or comments on women or sexuality or the way people should relate to God, maybe they do know that they're nuanced or difficult or strange or foreign, and they don't like this complexity. And maybe they do this in an overly simplistic way. We covered in our last lesson, oh, the Bible has a bad view of women, therefore we shouldn't read it. And I'm setting up this objective to specifically look at themes like violence, to specifically look at themes like our understanding of God, and challenge those simplistic understandings so we can come to a more mature, wholesome, and nuanced grasp of the stories of the Bible and have a better takeaway and understanding of this. Here's my premise. This is all functioning on the level of debate or analysis or criticisms and defense brings out the best. So being able to present your argument, being able to defend your argument, being able to take the other side is not only going to help you summarize and understand something better, it is going to lead you to the truth. Without further ado, let's dive in. There are many criticisms of why you shouldn't teach the book of Judges to children. You have now read the story of the Levite and his concubine and the story of the Benjaminites, and right away, just the idea of a concubine, that is somebody who you're not married to, who you're having sex with, who is not your wife, who isn't treated with the same dignity as a wife. Just that idea in general is something that people who are unaware of the complexity of the Bible are maybe going to be uncomfortable with. We could also hearken back to the story of Jacob and Jacob's multiple wives. Are we supposed to teach Genesis to children? I have all sorts of arguments around that. But so first off, there are many, many reasons. Here are 5. There's graphic content in the book of Judges. For instance, the Levite's concubine will be raped to death. Should we teach this to children? There's moral complexity. The Levite will find that his concubine is raped to death and wants to send a message of, look at the thing that these Benjaminites did. So he'll cut up her dead body and send the pieces to the different tribes of Israel. So there's definitely moral complexity, graphic content. The book of Judges is rated R or worse. It's representation of women. In this case, as an object of sexual fulfillment, as a concubine. This is like a prostitute, a little bit closer relationship to the prostitute. It would be like a personal prostitute sort of thing. We've covered prostitution overall in the Bible, though. We're looking specifically at the book of Judges. It's theological interpretation. Like, where is God in all this? Why is he allowing for this? How is a loving God letting this go on? So why should we bother teaching this to children? And of course, it's cultural context. How does this relate to 2024? Why would we read such a foreign book? These are all criticisms and reasons why you shouldn't teach Judges to children. Now, here are some defenses of teaching Judges to children. I won't use too many specific examples, but I'll get into some analyses here. Well, looking at morally complex issues brings out the best in our critical thinking. Looking at gray areas and actually having to pull apart where God is, what's right, what's wrong, to what extent, what are our reasons, what premises are leading to our conclusions. This is actually going to strengthen our intellectual muscles. So maybe that's a reason for looking at the book of Judges and teaching it to children. It is not black and white. It will force children to think in morally complex and critical ways. Number 2 is historical or cultural awareness. I talked about this in the first lesson. The book of Judges is very, very different than our cultural times right now. And yet so often we'll hear the words, oh, what we're going through, whether it's the pandemic or whether it's institutional problems or whether it's leadership or corruption, oh, these times are unprecedented. Anyone who has awareness of the book of Judges knows that our times are not unprecedented. Bad leadership, corruption, violence is not new. It's as old and as thematic as the cycles in the book of Judges. So getting aware of those cycles can be an important reason why children should read the book of Judges. Redemption and forgiveness. This goes along with the theological interpretation of, where is this loving God in this violent book of Judges? Well, God is right there, raising up judges, leading the people to deliverance. He is certainly withdrawing just a little bit in order for the people to suffer the consequences of their idolatry or their abandonment of him. But he nevertheless rushes back in and continues to be with the people. Throughout the book of Judges, God is present, forgiving them, loving them, leading him towards himself, allowing them to fail. Number 4, we talked about how the book of Judges has some interesting problematic takes on women. Now, teaching this book to children could lead to a good discussion of gender roles, of the Bible's real teachings of women, not avoiding the hard questions, but rather engaging with them in a very strong way, of bringing them to the forefront, of looking at these examples that are gray and unsure and morally ambiguous, which means uncertain. Number 6, narrative engagement. This is one why I say I love teaching the book of Judges. The book of Judges is many things, good and bad, but it's never boring. On every single page, there is an engaging narrative. Something crazy is happening. And children like that. They engage with difficult stories and they can understand complex narratives. You can put, as I say, an 8-year-old in front of Star Wars and they will be able to tell you the whole narrative. I see no reason why you can't do the same with the book of Judges. It's engaging. And finally, number 7, this relates to a few of them. This will cause ethical discussions. Black and white thinking is something so common today when looking at the Bible. Oh, the Bible is good. Oh, the Bible is bad. Oh, the Bible can be distilled just into be kind. Oh, the Bible is an oppressive patriarchal book written about and for men and how to oppress women. That's too simplistic. Looking at a book like the Book of Judges and its ambiguity and its violence and its forgiveness and its strong motifs and movements and models can lead us to have interesting ethical discussions about what God wants and what happens when we don't follow what he wants. So, to finish up, I want you guys to think deeply, using examples, using your distillations, using your appraisals from the last few classes in order to come up with a statement. Should the Bible, specifically the Book of Judges, be read and engaged with children? Or should children be protected from ideas that are present within? Are they going to be corrupted or damaged by these stories of violence, of rape, of murder, of deceit, of unfaithfulness, of idolatry? I want you to come up with your defense or your criticisms. I'm cool with you taking either way. But one thing I don't want is simplistic, black and white thinking. God bless.